Hi there. The microphone messed up on this video, so I'm going to have to re-record. So here's the layout, and I'm going to show you how to sew these together because it was real easy for me to mess up. What happened when I first started, then I kind of flipped it like this when I started sewing it together. So just make sure you keep track and check right before you sew. So I'm lining these up. Okay, so I'm starting on the top and the bottom, and I'll do the middle section last. So I'm taking this darker one and lining it up, and that's why the notches kind of help out here, because you can really line it up all the way, and it doesn't get off. So yeah, just kind of, that's why we cut those notches off. Make sure everything's lined up before you sew through it. There we go. Sorry, re-recording this is kind of interesting. I can't quite hear what I said in the original one because, like I said, the sound went off, but we're going to do the best we can. And I have long strings that come off with the sewing machine, so I like to trim those off. That's what I'm kind of doing when I'm not in the screen. And then right now I'm double making sure, well, I'm ironing it open, but I'm going to make sure that I don't flip it in any way. Because again, I flipped it the first time I sewed it, and it was kind of frustrating because I hate getting Jack the Ripper out. But so now I'm just keeping track of it. Again, with those notches, that makes it really easy to line up. Yep. And then I'm just going to sew it straight. Easy goes. And I know that you could do a little bit of chain piecing here, but it's so little that I just stop with each sew. And I'm ironing in between because it just keeps it nice and flat for me. And I think in this one I was saying take your time, that kind of thing. I hate voiceovers, but this is what I had to do this time. And I'm getting a new mic, so it'll be better. I know even this one's probably not the best in the world, but that's okay. So again, just finishing up that row. So quick, easy. These rows are not too bad. Yeah, and I'm saying very simple. And to keep them really straight, I know I haven't used the stiletto, the By Any stiletto, but that really is the one that I like to use the most. Okay. I guess I'm ironing at this point. Okay, that one's done. And yeah, it turned out really straight and nice, and I do like that. And that cutting the notches really helps you get that straight line like that. Okay. Yeah, and I'm talking about laying it on the board. And now we're going to do the bottom one. Same thing, we've cut those notches out. And I'm making sure, absolutely, that they're turned in the right direction, because if they're turned the opposite way, you will not get that nice diamond shape. Learn from my mistakes, please. And then I'm just going to sew this on. I'll do it a lot like the first one. I don't think I'm chain piecing. No, look, I start chain piecing. Boy, this voiceover work. Sorry about this, guys. I guess there's always at least one mess up. We've gone through what? This is the 9th month, and it's been pretty steady up until now. All right, I'm trimming the threads. Probably gonna iron them real quick because the iron's just to the side of me. And I'm talking about you can't lay it in the wrong direction. Or maybe you can, I don't remember. So I'm ironing the second one, and then I'm going to show you. Yep, you can lay it in the wrong direction. So I went to get the book to verify which way the colors were because I forgot. But that's okay. That's why we take our time and make sure. It's really not too hard, but I'm taking quite a while. And I'm saying be careful. And then I'm going to finish sewing that row. And I'm saying one notch, I cut a little bit longer right there, but that it doesn't matter too much. The other notch matched up perfectly. You can just trim that little notch a little further. I think that's why I grabbed my, yep. Yep. Now I will iron it out and it'll be nice and straight. Looks good. These rows are easy. At this point, I think we've done several of these. And I'm just pressing it. Are y'all as glad as I am that it's the 9th month and we get to move to the background and really start finishing this one? So that's the bottom row. So we've got the top row and the bottom row done. And now we've got that middle section that we're going to do. That's the wonderful thing about Jaybird. There's definitely an order of things, and when you sew them together and you get them done, it's an amazing block that is so complex yet comes together so easily. So I'm just sewing those 2 side pieces on each side together for that middle section. And there's a little more going on this row. But trimming the points really helps you match all these pieces together. And I'm ironing right now. Get everything flat since I'm going to be sewing against that row. Finger pressing sometimes messes me up. I think I'm liking the actual ironing it flat better. This is the other side that we're sewing real quick. Yeah, the notches are really helping out. It seems like it's just coming together a little easier. Okay, trimming those long threads. I can't stand up. It said there was a tiny notch there that I trimmed off. Okay, ironing it now. Let's move on to the other parts of this middle section. And obviously I'm playing with the board a little bit. Sorry about this, guys. Ooh, look, the hex. Excellent. We are to that part. This is our last hex that we're going to do with this quilt. So in the triangle to one side, then you're just going to flip it and sew to the other side. You can do both of these at one time. Well, you know what I mean. You don't have to iron in between this one. And because we cut the notches in our triangles, it matches up with the hexie and makes just easier to line up correctly. When you don't cut off the notches, you have to kind of gauge how far the tips go on each side, and I think it's a little easier to line up and make sure it's centered, that triangle centered perfectly if you cut those tips off. And let me know if cutting off the tips helps you, because that's a big hint that I've kind of drilled in your heads that I want to make sure it's helping you. All right, I'm talking about we're almost done with our last month. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because you've got the notches, this is going to match up beautifully. I didn't even pen this one. Look at that. Yay, good. Saw that finger going up in there. I was like, didn't I use the stiletto on that? All right. So we've sewed to that side, and that string is just so long for me. Sorry. Oh, that turned out beautifully. Just beautiful. Okay, I'm going to press that open again because I'm pressing as I go. Finally hooked up that iron close to me. I think that's really going to come in handy when we're doing the background with all the piecing we've got going on. So again, make sure you're hooking it to the right side. There's a lot of places that you could sew in the wrong position here, so make sure, kind of take the time, line it up, make sure it's in the right place. So that seam wasn't matching up like I wanted, so I kind of adjusted a little bit. We'll see how that turns out. Again, look at that notch just lining up. This has been really fun to make. And I know a couple of y'all have said that y'all have had fun. I'm really looking forward to the next sew along we have together. Y'all have been a true joy and a highlight to my months every month when I sit down and share this time with you. Okay, so I'm just going to iron these open. So I am, oh, look at that. That looks really good. Perfect. That's the middle section, and now we can add just straight line, across the top. We're matching up a few points, but because we've done those notches, this really should come together a little more smoothly. At that point, it's the crossing. Yeah, the seam matches up with the outer edge of that seam. So it's kind of a cross. And a 1/4 inch down, the seams should match up. That's a straight angle seam match up. And the last one's another cross. And if you look, like I said, if you look down inside, about a 1/4 inch down, the seams should meet up. Not cross, but meet up. And you know when you sew, right? Okay. So when I'm doing longer lines like this, I do like to pen. And here we go. I was about to say, use that stiletto. I really, now you give a good look at my gray hair. I am so excited to finish this block. It's not even funny. I am ready to move on to the background because, like I said, I'm sewing along with y'all. There's several of you who have finished, but yeah, I'm just on month 9 with you. Okay, so that's the first. I can't remember if it's the top or the bottom, but I think it's the top. And we've got to put the bottom on. Trim it up. I'm going to iron it. Yeah, that really lined up good. That lined up good. I think my first one, the yellow one that I did, didn't line up quite the same as that one, but less than 1/8 of an inch off. So just one more row to sew, and then we are done with all the blocks. Oh, this block is really pretty. I like this one a lot. That looks amazing. Okay, time to put on the bottom row and be done. And then we are on to backgrounds in just a couple of weeks. In the tips video, I'm going to kind of give you the schedule that we're going to do. It will change just a little bit, but I'll tell you in the video next week how the background layout is going to go over the next couple of months. And remember, you have all of January to finish. Okay, just lining these up, making sure that those cross matching seams are going to do good. All right, this is the last sew for the blocks. Oh my gosh, here we go. I always like to check, sometimes especially if they're not pinning super perfectly, I just give it a little check. Make sure. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Checking one last time before I sew through it. All right, now we're just going to finish the row. Oh my gosh, the end. The last block is done. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Really, really, truly grateful you have joined us. I'm excited. Okay, just going to trim that thread off. Yeah, that one seam looks a little bit off, but I think it's less than 1/8 of an inch. So I'm not going to worry about it that much. It's not worth the effort of undoing and trying again. It seems like every time I have tried to do match up seams that are less than 1/8 of an inch, it doesn't make it any better. If it's a large, like almost 1/4 of an inch, then yes, it makes it better. But the 1/8 of an inch, it's really tough. It's a really beautiful block. Yeah, that one's just slightly off, that one right there. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, we are done with month 9. Wow. If you haven't sewn both of them yet, that's okay. 2 more weeks of this month, You can also play catch up this month before the holidays get started. And we will get together next week for the tips, and I'll go over what's important about sewing this block together like usual. And then I'll also go over how the background videos are going to go and what the timeline and when I'm going to post and things like that. I'll get that all squared away so you'll know, and you'll know when I'm going to give you a week of catch-up time, because there's a lot of piecing to do, but it goes really, really fast. All right, guys, y'all have a beautiful week, and I will see you next week. Happy sewing. Bye-bye.